What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cougar Culture Podcast. You guys know me by now. My name is Dorian, and we have a very special episode coming up. We're going to jump right into it, and we're going to discuss Cougar quick hits with Kean University's men's basketball team, and we're going to wrap up the basketball season. Joining us now on the pod are a group of very talented individuals. We have members of the Kean men's basketball team with us. We have assistant coach Bill Kilduff, Letrell West, Ethan Stith, Jailen Jamison. What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
Much.
Yeah, doing.
Doing good. So, Coach, we're going to start off with you. The ending to the season was a little bit heartbreaking, but there were some positives. For example, this being one of the first winning seasons in a really long time for the program. So what are some of the positives that you want to hang your hat on and bring into next season?
You just mentioned it, the fact that KU basketball finished over 500 for the first time in probably 7 or 8 years. We improved the culture, improved the talent level. Not that we're anywhere near a finished product yet, but I think those are positive things you can take out of the season. The fact that we did win 14 games, the fact that we did finish in the top half of the league, the fact that we beat the league champion Stockton. I think those are some of the things that you can hang our hat on. Was the end of the season disappointed? Yeah, we didn't play well down the stretch, but I think a lot of that too has to do with growing problems. You got to crawl before you can walk, and we still have a long way to go as a program. We need to get better. We need to get more competitive. We need to get bigger. But we also started to lay the foundation, and you have to have a foundation before you can go forward. So the 14 wins was a good start, but that's only a start. And one of the things about our players and coaching staff is we're not satisfied. Yeah, 14-10 is better than it's been in a while, but I think if we sit back and examine, 14-10 should have been, a little bit better than 14-10. The playoff game against Newark, it's tough to sit and watch, but if you're going to be honest, that game was over in about 1 minute and 45 seconds. Quincy came out hot. We couldn't throw the ball in the Atlantic Ocean. And I think that game did bring out some of the things we need to get better at. We need to be stronger. We need to be more efficient offensively. But those are things that can be fixed. So was it a successful season? Yes. Was it an improvement? Yes. Is it where we want to be? Far from it.
Yeah, for sure. We love the optimism. And you mentioned it. There was a lot of, a new culture that was kind of being brought in this year, some new players, including you, Letrell. Was your first year at Kean University. You transferred from Cleveland University. Could you walk us through the decision to transfer to Kean from Cleveland?
I actually came from northern Michigan, but it mainly was about just being home. I got tired of being away from home, being so far. I was in South Carolina. I went to Iowa. I've been in Michigan, so I definitely miss my family. So I wanted to be back, and it just worked out. It just made the most sense.
Absolutely. And Coach, back to you. You also decided to return to Kean with Coach Turco. Can you walk us through a little bit of that decision as well after, you had a stint here in the mid 2000s and now you're back?
Now that from my point of view is pretty much a no-brainer. I was with Turk at Middlesex. I was with him his last 4 years at St. Joe's. And I'm now a retired school teacher. So it was relatively an easy decision. I still wanted to stay in coaching. I had my fill of being a head coach at the high school level. I just didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't feel like dealing with all the BS that goes with being a head coach. And it was a good situation. Turk and I work well together. We've known each other for more years than neither one of us probably care to admit, which means we're both old. But it to me it was a no-win situation. I was here in the early days with Bruce Hamburger. I knew Bruce since his graduate assistant days at college in New Jersey. And when he first got the job, he wanted me to come with him at that point. And I would just taken a head coaching job up at Randolph High School and, wanted to do that. And then finally he kept wearing me down and I figured, all right, I'll come over and work with Bruce. And then when his contract wasn't renewed in 2005, obviously being one of his assistants, mine wasn't either. So then it was just a move on to other and different things. But it's always been a place I like coaching at. Somewhat selfishly, it's about 5 minutes from where I live. So that part's another no-brainer. But I always wanted to get back to the college level, and this was a good situation. And like I said, Turk and I work very well together. We have completely different personalities about how we deal with things, and I think it's a good situation. And then obviously with Jerry Henderson and Mike Burton on staff, we had a very good staff who work well together. Every one of us has a little bit different personality, which I think is good. The kids don't get bored with mundane stuff. We're all the same way. So I think that's obviously a good thing. But it was, like I said, it's just been a no-brainer because it gets me back where I want to be on the college level.
Definitely. A very interesting perspective. This one's for Jailen. You've cemented your name in the Kean history books by joining the 1,000 point club with 13 points in that final game against Rutgers Newark. And with a season left of eligibility, what are some of your goals next year?
Just to really stamp the legacy that I've made and worked for, and to really build the group that we worked on last year and really try to just go out with a championship. That's really the only goal, to win and make sure that's the goal for everyone that we have coming forward from day one.
Absolutely. And one of those players that you guys came into this season was Ethan. You weren't part of the rotation every single game, but you were definitely an offensive juggernaut coming off the bench. How does it feel that you were an individual to have impact coming off the bench, and especially as a freshman?
It was really nice, not knowing what to expect coming in as a freshman, learning with the new guys and stuff. And towards the middle end of the season, just coming off the bench with that energy role was really nice for the guys. I feel like I brought up the team energy. And it was just fun interacting with some of the older kids. They love to see me win as a freshman. So it was just a really cool experience overall.
Yeah, for sure. It was very exciting to watch you play. And this one is for both Coach and Jailen. We can get both your takes on this. And both of you have been with this program for some time. Bill with you previously under a different staff, and Jailen since 2018. What do you think was the difference between the teams that have previously been on the court versus this one?
I just think the energy was different. We had coaching staff that really was all on the same page, and we had a group team from top to bottom who was on the same page and really trusted the coach. So I feel like us trusting the coach made us just perform better on the court.
from my perspective, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. It's funny. I was just on the phone before this with a guy who used to coach in the league at Ramapo, Montclair, and we were talking about the league and the success that Stockton had in the opening 2 rounds of the NCAA, and then when they went down to Randolph-Macon, they got kind of crushed. And the one thing that's unique about the NJAC, and I think it's one of the things we need to get better at. This is a very athletic league, and from a point of view of competing on the national level at the D3 level, you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. To be competitive in this league, and I think it's one of the things we're working on, one of the things we need to get a little bit better at, we need to get stronger and much more physical, because this is a physical league. Yet the negative part of that is when you compete at the national level, it's Division III level, and it kind of hurts our league a little bit, is the fact that in our league, we know that we might as well just roll the balls out, put on helmets and shoulder pads, because it's going to be a war for 40 minutes. And that's just the way the league is officiated. When you get away from our league, the officiating our style of play tends to be hurt by the officiating. They don't allow as much physical contact as you get out of our league and you play non-conference games. And I think that's something that, Letrell might be able to speak to, coming from the D2 level and seeing the different levels of officiating we have to face. To compare Kean now to Kean then, it's similar. I think the level of players is very similar. The league hasn't changed that much. I mean, now the top teams are Stockton and Rowan and Newark. When I was there the first time, the top teams are probably Stockton and Jersey City. Where they're perennial powerhouses, but the league hasn't changed much. The type of player that plays in the league hasn't changed all that much. The league got hurt just around 2000 when a lot of the NAI schools, Bloomfield and Nyack and Dominican, and all those schools went from NAI to Division II, and they started giving out full scholarships. I think that's changed the league a little bit. In terms of not the caliber of player, but the type of player that the league gets. But there hasn't been all that much of a change, and I think what has happened has been for the positive.
Letrell, you and I spoke after the first game, and you mentioned to me that this year, and Bill alluded to it earlier, was about changing the culture overall. So how do you think that you all did in accomplishing that goal?
I think this year was a stepping stone. It was a stepping stone. Honestly, it was a step in the right direction. It wasn't exactly you can't change the culture in 1 year. Like, I think what we did was wake everybody up to the idea of what we can be. I wasn't happy with the season. We won 14 games, but we should have did way more. We lost in the first round. I don't see anything good coming out of it besides the fact that people know now. People know that we're not just the team that only wins 1 game, 2 games. We're actually going to compete. We actually competed with everyone. I didn't see anyone in the league that was much better than us. I didn't see anyone in the league that was better than us from a standpoint of down the line. But as far as a team, it was a lot of teams that were better than us as a team. So I think just this moving in the right direction, I think moving forward that everyone knows kind of what the deal is, what things are. I can set the tone. Guys that were here previously can continue what we've been doing. And with the younger guys like E and everything, the culture's already started to change. E knows what he has to do. Moving forward, he'll know what he has to do even more. So it's only gonna grow. It's only gonna grow. So we're gonna continue to go up, and next year is definitely gonna be something for real.
Wow. Yeah. Love that answer. Love that confidence. Speaking of you, Ethan, the team started off very strong to begin the season, as Letrell was alluding to there. But there were a few rough patches. As a young player, you kind of experienced some of the veteran leadership. What exactly were they saying to you? How did you internalize that and let it impact you on the court?
Yeah. Even when we started out the season super strong at like 6-0, the older guys always told me to just keep a level head, never get too high, because after we went 6-0, we had like a few bad losses, so we had to just keep our heads. And they always told me like, we'll get back to it in practice. Like if we had a bad game, we're gonna fix it in practice. We're gonna work in practice to fix out all the kinks and stuff. And they definitely guided me through the season. Like guys like Letrell and Drew, even in practice, always teaching me, telling me where to go, what to do, and they really did help me like start off the season. So yeah.
So I want to stick with you, Ethan, really quick before I get to my next question. One of the first times I really saw you play was in that Princeton game. So what was that like, again, as a younger player on the squad, getting time against a D1 program like Princeton?
Yeah, Princeton was a really cool experience, from just walking into the stadium and kind of seeing like the huge dome, bubble, arena type thing. And obviously seeing all the Princeton players, all the D1 kids. But it was a really cool experience for one of my first games as a college basketball player. And it was just the whole experience just kind of blew my mind away, playing with all those guys, being on the same court as D1 kids, knowing like this is where like we were competing for a little too. So it's not even like we were out of the game the whole time, but it was just a great experience for me.
Absolutely. And that was a fun game to watch. For Juju, this is more of a fun question. So Jish and I, Jish alluded to it when we were talking, but he's on a couple of your highlights, and we had a lot of fun calling the games. We saw a couple ankle breakers, some amazing passes. And you had the home crowd going, especially when that one ankle breaker that was making his way around. You had the home crowd going crazy. We loved it. Was there a player that you kind of modeled your game after, and how did you find a way to continue to make those kinds of plays?
Well, growing up, I really gravitated towards like Steve Nash and Chris Paul, because I was really like a pass first point guard growing up. So like that's where you see the flashy passes coming out. And then like as I got older and started to like gain more athleticism, I really gravitated towards like Derrick Rose and Kyrie. So that's where you can see the layups. But I just like keep working, and you like it shows on the court. So like I could just like give it all to those guys.
I was gonna say Kyrie, because I see the way you get to the rim at will, basically, like it, and the way it looks it's clean.
Yeah, and I love the D Rose reference there too. I'm a huge Bulls fan, so that that connection is clear to me.
That was my favorite player for real. Like I was at Memphis when he was there, and I got a picture with him.
That's crazy, man. I'm a huge Bulls fan. He made me a Bulls fan too. Like I'm from
my
Jersey,
guy.
no reason. But and this next question is our last one. This is for everyone. You guys are all eligible to return next season. And what can we expect from Kean men's basketball in 2022?
Championship.
For
sure,
yeah.
Finals run. Yeah.
We're gonna be better than this past year. We're just gonna keep building on what we already have. So you can expect a lot more next year.
For our next segment of this podcast, we will be going beyond the competition with head coach Shelley Sheiner and Kean University's Vice President for Public Affairs, Dr. Joseph Youngblood, and we'll be discussing the Cubs night event that will be occurring this upcoming Saturday, April 9th. Joining us now on the podcast, you've heard him before, we have men's lacrosse head coach Shelley Sheiner. How are you, Coach?
Excellent. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And now we have a very special guest joining us as well, Kean Senior Vice President for External Affairs, Dr. Joseph Youngblood. How are you?
I'm well, Dorian. Good morning. Good morning, Coach Sheiner.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're going to hop right into the questions. And the question I'm sure a lot of people really want to know, and this is for both of you. What exactly is Cubs?
Okay, well, I'll start. C.U.B.S stands for Kean University Building Stronger, and then we kind of attach it to urban communities. What we've started to kind of do with athletics and partnering with Dr. Youngblood and the Institute is we just want to we want to provide services and things, anything the university can do to help students in some of the urban communities that are around New Jersey. And one of the ways we're doing it is through sport. And we had a kickoff event in the fall. It was very successful. And we're looking to kind of expand it. But, obviously Cougars have C.U.B.S, and these are going to be like our, we'll say like, little brothers and sisters from different communities around New Jersey that our students can get in front of, our students could work hands-on with. And if we could provide them with things that they're not usually, like they haven't seen before, like lacrosse and other things, it's going to be, a great partnership and a great marriage. And I think Dr. Youngblood can kind of expand on some of the things that he does as well. So, yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Coach. Dorian, as you know, in this last legislative cycle, under the leadership of Dr. Lamont Repillette, our president here at Kean University, Kean received the designation as New Jersey's first and only urban public research university. And with that has been a commitment on Kean's part to really be an urban anchor institution, leveraging our research, leveraging our students, our faculty, our staff, to really have an impact, a sustainable impact in communities around the state of New Jersey. And with that, here was the opportunity for us to leverage sports and to find ways to link our student athletes, to mentor kids who are coming from urban environments, and in this case, to expose them to a really phenomenal and exciting niche sport that isn't always representative in urban communities around New Jersey. So our opportunity to build stronger urban communities, leveraging sports, leveraging relationships, and leveraging everything that we have to offer here at Kean is really what was at the impetus of this idea to move forward with this. To just give you a sense, we kind of modeled what we've constructed after the Young Quakers program, which is a program at the University of Pennsylvania where the student athletes are working and mentoring kids from the surrounding West Philadelphia and University City community. And ironically, the Young Quakers program also started with lacrosse, Coach. So I think we're on to something really phenomenal in terms of the spirit and the essence and the cultural identity and connection that lacrosse brings as a sport that was started by Native Americans, and to be able to replicate that here at Kean, I think is just a huge and tremendous opportunity for us, for you, and for the student athletes here at Kean.
Wow, that actually answered one of the questions that I had. Why lacrosse? Because lacrosse isn't necessarily a sport that you see everywhere. Even where I'm from, I didn't hear about lacrosse until maybe about middle school, heading into sixth grade, and that's when it started to really pick up steam and get popular.
I'm gonna kind of jump into that, and that's kind of like why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I teach, as you know, in Bergenfield, New Jersey. I grew up in Bergenfield, and in Bergenfield's a middle class community, middle to lower class community in Bergen County, and we didn't have the resources. We did not have a lacrosse. I did not have a lacrosse program. The school system still does not have a lacrosse program in Bergenfield, and I was given the opportunity when I came to Kean in 1990. I wrestled for 1 year, and then I jumped to the lacrosse team because back then you could do that. And Coach Waterman, Coach Cleary took me in with open arms, and there was a few kids who had never played before, and I immediately fell in love with the sport, and it's been part of my life for 30 plus years. And I think about had I not gone to Kean, what my life would have been like if I didn't have that opportunity to join the lacrosse team. If I had gone to another school that didn't have lacrosse, or if I just didn't want to pick up or keep on with sports. So through sport helped. Honestly, sport helped me get through Kean. Lacrosse helped me get my degree because I just kept wanting to do well in school. Please, Coach Waterman. Please, Coach Cleary. Come back to Kean. I had an opportunity to get a full-time job in one of the summers, during my sophomore year. And I just said, I want to go back to school. I want to keep playing lacrosse. And I was lucky enough to kind of have that opportunity, and a lot of students and a lot of kids out there from a lot of different areas might not. And if we can kind of expose them to sport like this and give them opportunities on a college campus, I think it's all the better, So I owe a lot to certain people. I owe a lot to Kean. I owe a lot to the sport of lacrosse. So this is just my kind of ultimate way of just paying it forward. That's it. Just keep paying it forward.
And Dorian, I think you're right. I mean, lacrosse is one of those niche sports, again, that one requires a lot of development in terms of the pipeline and the development of kids who are immersed in the sport, who can progress with their own development as they age. It is cost prohibitive oftentimes for communities of color and poor communities in terms of paying for rec leagues, paying for coaches, and then having people who understand the sport who can actually coach at the developmental phases and stages. So we really see this as an opportunity to leverage our resources to make sure that kids have access to the opportunities of a lot of these niche sports that they otherwise wouldn't have access to. So that's really important for us in terms of how we build these strong relationships, working directly with urban communities and urban school districts. We'll be kicking off a lot of what we're doing with the K.U.B.S program with the city of Trenton, in which case the superintendent and the school district has identified a strong desire to start building out lacrosse in their elementary and middle school programs, with the hopes of developing that pipeline into a high school lacrosse program, which would just be exciting on so many levels. It's a great sport. I mean, I think it's the intersection of quite a few different sports that come together. And once kids begin to play it and understand it and learn the game, that intrinsic internal light bulb goes off. And I think it just creates all types of opportunities, both in high school and post-secondary education opportunities for kids who want to transition into college and play athletics. So we see that as a huge opportunity. We had the first kickoff, I think, in October of last year, where we brought together kids from Harlem. And Coach, if you want to jump in and talk about that, it would be great. But we had kids from New Jersey and also from Harlem to do a clinic that really engaged our student athletes, our lacrosse players, Coach Sheiner, his coaches. It was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I tell you, my kids have been playing lacrosse since kindergarten, and never, ever have I ever seen 100 Black and brown kids together with lacrosse sticks in their hands. So it was just absolutely incredible. And again, we're really looking forward to building on that momentum to now create the next level of the K.U.B.S program.
Yeah. There are a lot of established, inner city lacrosse programs that have been doing, this for years. Harlem Lacrosse is one, and the Bronx Lacrosse. A guy I coached, Danny Leventhal. I coached him on the Israeli national team. He spearheaded Bronx Lacrosse. Harlem Lacrosse has been around for over a decade. So we were able to bring students and lacrosse players from Frederick Douglass Academy, from two different high schools in the Bronx and middle schools in the Bronx to Kean, and the existing New Jersey program from Newark East Side, which is run by Kean lacrosse alumni, Kean University alumni, John Dudley. And we had, it was close to 100 students on campus that day. It rained a little bit, so the weather was not cooperative, but the spirits were high. The rain was out, but the sunshine was their smiles and the fun that they had.
And
so
those kids played through it. It was rainy and cold, and you would not have known from their level of excitement and engagement.
Yeah, they where I was like, oh man, I want to go inside. They were like, let's keep playing. They were, and the whole program, honestly, it flew by. The kids had, had a lot of fun. And I think what we're looking to do now with the, kind of K.U.B.S program is now look at like Trenton and some other areas that are completely don't have any exposure to lacrosse, or very limited exposure to lacrosse. So it's actually ironic. So like I'm kind of doing double duty right now. I'm getting text messages from the coach at Long Branch High School. He's a middle school teacher in Long Branch. Long Branch is one of those communities that they have a high school lacrosse team, but they have no feeder program. They have no rec program at all. And those are the kids we want to target, that kind of like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade group. So they come into, high school and they have some type of experience, with lacrosse or some exposure with lacrosse. So Coach Sneddon from Long Branch who teaches middle school there, just told me we got 52 Long Branch kids coming, permission slips signed and sealed. So they're going to be coming. So it's going to be Long Branch and Trenton here. And I know some of the kids from Newark are going to be coming on Saturday to watch the lacrosse team, hopefully win. I think we should be all right, but we'll see. Can't take anything for granted. But so we're gonna have, we could have close to 200 kids here supporting men's lacrosse, sticks in the hand for the first time, and I think with Connor's game too, we're gonna run out of t-shirts. We always run out of t-shirts. But it's gonna be an awesome site. It is absolutely gonna be an awesome site. And you know what? If these opportunities that we can get, whether it's lacrosse or tennis or whatever it might be through sport, or I'm a big proponent of the arts and music, whether it's art and music. If Kean University can provide stuff for these students in these urban areas where we do know things are very much cost prohibitive, if we can kind of help them and give them a little bit of a boost to aspire to go to college, whether obviously hopefully Kean, but it could be another school. But we might be the university that just plants the seed in some young 7th grader or 6th grader or 8th grader that might not have thought about going to college because their parents might not be college graduates, or they might be first generation families, coming from immigrant family homes where they don't know lacrosse, they don't know sport, and they're just trying to make their way. But if we help them in any way possible to aspire to get to a post-secondary education level, that's what we're doing. That's our job. That's Dr. Repillette's vision. That's Dr. Youngblood's vision. Dr. Youngblood and I, we've known each other really just under a year, but it started, from a simple email that he sent me congratulating, us on winning the conference last year. And his son plays lacrosse, and since then we've kind of we've been a runaway train, him and I, as far as like getting these ideas and initiatives going. I mean, we talked about it at the first lacrosse tournament about, hey, let's do something. And Dorian, me, I once I get an idea, nothing's going to stop me. And I got the support of Dr. Youngblood. So this is just all the things that are in line with, what I want my program to be about, and what I see, Kean University can be. I mean, Dr. Youngblood and I are kindred spirits. We definitely connected right away. We are the good pairing. I'd say we're like, the first pairing that came to mind was like Abbott and Costello, but none of the listeners know who Abbott and Costello is. I would say like we're like Reese's, like chocolate and peanut butter. I'm like chocolate, he's like peanut butter, and we're perfect together. So and we just keep going. We just keep going.
Thanks, Coach. I agree completely. And I think, Dorian, what's also exciting about this is the opportunity for us to not just have this be sort of the community service one-off kind of activity, but to fully integrate this into what we're doing, into what our student athletes are doing in terms of their course of study, to really link this to service learning opportunity and community-based learning opportunities that really makes it seamless for our student athletes. I mean, yes, we're evolving into a research university, but true to Kean's core identity is this emphasis on education and teaching and the development of teachers. So we have such a disproportionate amount of our student athletes who are education majors that this becomes a huge opportunity for them to have internships and apprenticeships with these districts that we're working with to pipeline them into even sort of job development opportunities once they've finished. So it's a comprehensive, fully integrated model that allows our student athletes, our faculty to really play such a pivotal role in bringing such an incredible sport to urban kids all around New Jersey.
Absolutely. And Coach Sheiner, I want to ask you, because you mentioned it, you did Connor's game the week before, and you said when you get an idea, you get going. So what is the reason that men's lacrosse is involved in so many different programs?
I think it's the nature of the athletes that I have on my roster. I think, I recruit a certain type of player that not just wants to come to Kean and be a lacrosse player, right? Some of the listeners and I think Dr. Youngblood knows this too. Sometimes there's a negative stereotype that goes along with lacrosse, or a misunderstanding about what lacrosse players are. There's a term, a phrase that people kind of say like lax bro, and that lax bro is a negative, where it's just like, oh, they're kind of like lackadaisical. They care about lacrosse. They care about looking a certain way. None of my players are what we would say, stereotypical lax bros. My guys that I have in my program are unbelievable young men that are eager to get involved in different initiatives on campus and just, and help out and help in the communities, from top to bottom. So I think, part of it is, I would say Coach Sheiner, pushing them a little bit to do more on campus, and don't just be, a student on campus that's a student athlete, but is just about their sport, go to class, do their sport, and that's it. I want them to go to class, do their sport, and make a difference. And that is so important to me, because there are so many people that have made a difference in my life. And I just, I could rattle off, 12 different men and women at Kean that, in my time at Kean, and some of them aren't here, from, like I said, anymore. So it's my way of paying it forward. Coach Waterman, Holy Waterman, Coach, Michael Cleary, Patrick Ippolito, who is still, around and pretty, visible on campus and involved in a lot of different things, here. And, there's tons, Dr. Bousquet, they help me. So I want my players to help other kids and just be involved,
Definitely. You mentioned a few of the objectives that you hope to obtain throughout during the Cubs event. What are some of the other objectives that you hope that this program will achieve? And Coach Sheiner and Dr. Youngblood, you both can answer.
You want to go first, Doc, or?
Yeah, one of the things for me, Dorian, is I've always appreciated the universality of sports. It is a tremendous opportunity for people from different ethnic backgrounds, even political backgrounds, to come together and to really leverage the best of humanity, if you will. So it was just great to see our student athletes connecting with these kids, the natural mentoring that exists, because these kids are looking up to these young men who are in college, who are doing the right thing, and the synergies that created were just incredible. And I think that's been the longitudinal story of the Quakers program at Penn, that to see the relationships that develop, what it means for urban kids to have mentors who are, dynamic young athletes who are engaged in school. And so we really want to develop those relationships while exposing kids to the sport of lacrosse. So that's kind of one of the things that's really important to me on a humanistic level. I think on the skills development side, the coach can talk about that in terms of what the clinics and those types of things focus on, and how they help, again, in this feeder orientation to give kids the basic core skills that they need to develop in lacrosse.
Yeah, from there, it's kind of twofold. So my component is, let me get my players out there in front of these kids. Let's, my players, myself, my coaches, they're going to be the ones that are going to be, getting their hands dirty. I'm going to just list all my Coach Angrasani, Coach Adams, Coach Snellen, Coach Shapiro, Coach Kaiteka. My assistant coaches are amazing. They are going to be, I'm going to be almost like the MC there. And then they're going to be doing all the, the hands-on, hey, this is how you scoop a ground ball, all that. That's like one thing that we want to get out of it. We want these students to have, get some exposure with the sport of lacrosse, get some base skills. But I think one of the big things that is priceless is, I never stepped foot on a college campus until I was a senior in high school, looking at different colleges. And it wasn't many. I think I saw Kean and I think it might've been Jersey City State at that time. Those were like the only two college campuses that I stepped foot on. So for these students to have an opportunity to kind of, hey, this is a big university. This is a college campus. I think that exposure, being around older students, college students, is priceless. I could speak to that, from my own experience with my own son and daughter. They've grown up on Kean's campus, and they've been around my players for 15, 16 years, 17, 18 years. So they've been around Kean University. They've been around my players. They've developed these relationships, and that is priceless. You can't put any price on that. So it's beyond lacrosse. Are these kids going to be the next, all-American lacrosse player to play at Kean University? Well, yeah, that would be great. But I think what we're also looking to do is we're looking to kind of build a nurturing environment where our students could help, children in urban areas. We know that some of these kids are coming from single-parent homes. Some of these kids, their parents are working long hours, so they're not, they're on their own at times. And lacrosse is one of those sports where it doesn't matter if, you see the size difference in my guys. I got little guys, I got big guys, I got wide guys, I got skinny guys. Lacrosse is a sport for men and women that you could be impactful, any type of athlete, obviously we talked about Anthony Porter last, week. Anthony Porter is not the, 6'5" midfielder for me. He's on the other end, I don't want to give away his height. He'd be upset, but he's as impactful as it comes. You can be not the biggest guy in the world, or not the fastest guy in the world playing lacrosse, or not the most talented, woman on the field, or whatever it is. But there's always a role for you on a lacrosse field, and that's what makes the sport beautiful, I think.
Absolutely. And Dorian, I'll also just add briefly that part of Dr. Repellet's vision was to create a pipeline for urban students directly into Kean University. So in addition to creating the External Affairs division that I have the privilege of leading, we've also created a new division at Kean called the Entrepreneurial Education Initiatives, which is all about building K through 12 pipeline opportunities for kids who are coming from these urban districts directly into Kean. So we have the Kean Scholars Academy as one example, where we again have kids who are dually enrolled in their high school and at Kean University from their 9th grade through 12th grade, again, with the hope that they will transition to college somewhere. But again, as Coach Sheiner said, hopefully they'll see their home at Kean, because they would have been here. They've experienced this tremendous campus, the tremendous faculty and students that we have. And that's really a part of the pipeline development that we have. And I think the last piece is it's also a huge opportunity to help these districts to find ways to integrate new sports into their curriculum, so that kids, again, don't have to rely on rec teams that can often be costly, but directly embedded into their formal schooling will be the opportunity to have middle school lacrosse teams, elementary lacrosse teams, and then again to transition into high school. So really exciting opportunity for Kean, but also exciting opportunities and possibilities for our partnerships. I am very active with the 100 Black Men of New Jersey, and one of our sayings is what kids see is what they'll be. And what that means for us in terms of giving them access to Kean, to see what college life is like, to have relationships and to be mentored by college students and other folks who are affiliated with Kean, is just a huge opportunity for everyone involved.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say this, Dorian. Dr. Youngblood, super humble, and he hasn't even been here at Kean a full year, right? I think when was your start date, Doc?
Crossed the year threshold on March 8th.
Oh, okay. So just over a year. And we all know I was a student here from 1990, and I've been coaching here now 21 years, and, 19th season as head coach. And he has, when I talk about like Kean guy and, and someone who's like just everything about this university, he has jumped in. And I feel like he's been here for over 20 years. And what he has managed to accomplish, and the Watson Institute and everyone that, Dr. Youngblood works with, within his division, is amazing. It is truly amazing. Dr. Repellet, as I could say, has definitely hired the the right man for the job, because I'm floored at what's been able to be accomplished at Kean in just such a short time. And Dr. Youngblood is I consider him a friend, and a lot of ways a mentor, because we're in sync with how we feel and think about certain things and urban communities. And I'm ecstatic that he's here. So I mean, in such a short time, people. I said this in the last podcast, right? People talk about things, right? But you got to walk it, right? You talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. Well, this man. And his assistant's amazing, Peggy. Right, we got to give a shout out to Peggy, right? She's the force behind Dr. Youngblood. Definitely walks it and talks it, walks it. So I'm just, as a Kean alumni, not just a coach here, as a Kean alumni, I am so happy that he is part of our community now, and Dr. Repollet has given him, free reign to kind of just take these things and just roll with it. And it's been great. It's been awesome.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And it's exciting to see what the future may hold, which leads into my final question. What kinds of programs can we expect for not only the men's lacrosse team to continue to be part of, but other parts of the university to be involved in as well?
Well, I'll talk about men's lacrosse. I mean, we do a lot. So in the fall, we're doing pancreatic walk for pancreatic cancer. We're doing, walk for hydrocephalus. Those are kind of, some of our fall and, things that we do. I want to continue with Cubs clinics, Connor's game. I think sometimes I got to maybe pump the brakes on a couple of things. I don't know. I got something called the Jar of Hope that I've been, that's a down the line thing. I already spoke to Dr. Repollet about that, and how that could help and benefit our students in the athletic department, and raise awareness to another cause. But that's just what I'm all about. Yeah, if I just got out of my car and just coached lacrosse and got back in my car and drove home, I'm doing a disservice to my young men and this university that I love. I want my guys invested in so much more. And I know a lot of other coaches are all about it as well. And you'll be seeing a lot from Coach Sheiner and our men's lacrosse program. I think after maybe the Cubs, I'm going to kind of pump the brakes for a weekend or something. Kind of be like, take a breath for a second, and then and then start on my next thing. But that's what you can expect from men's lacrosse. We're gonna be fully involved in all these initiatives. Doc could speak about maybe the Watson Institute and some of the things that he's got going on. So.
Sure, absolutely, Dorian. I want to thank you for that closing question, because I think it's so insightful and full with implications and opportunities. So Coach has referenced the John S. Watson Institute for Urban Policy and Research here at Kean, which is an organization that's been around for 30 years and is really the leading policy think and do tank for everything urban-centered in New Jersey: urban economic development, community capacity building, law, public safety, you name it. The Watson Institute has been at the epicenter of shaping policy in the interests of urban centers all across New Jersey for over 3 decades. And what's exciting about Cubs is that we didn't say that Cubs was specifically about using sports. So when we came up with the acronym, it was Kean University Building Stronger Communities through whatever we needed it to be at the end of the sentence. So that's through sports, that's through the arts, that's through academically based service learning. All of those things become a possibility. And I want to give a shout out and then use this as an illustrative example of the types of things that we're doing that are linked to Cubs. Dean Money, who is the dean of the Michael Graves Public Architecture College here at Kean University, is partnering with the Watson Institute currently to look at how we can leverage our dynamic students in architecture to really look at design issues and the built environment in cities like Trenton, for example. So we're going to be working in a historically redlined area in Trenton that has experienced tremendous blight because of the outward migration of jobs and everything in that area. And our students are going to be on the ground working with the community, working with kids in high schools to really help develop a new and fresh redesign and to talk about issues of the built environment and what that means for the health, public safety, and welfare of folks in these cities. So the External Affairs Division is really positioned to help link our assets here at Kean to communities all across the state and to engage in mutually beneficial learning opportunities, and again, allowing us to leverage what we bring to the table as an academic institution to be a part of the solution in these cities all across the state. So huge opportunities. K.U.B.S is just one piece of that, and in some ways, the appropriate starting point for us, but you're going to see programs and initiatives like this through every department at Kean and again across the university.
We had 2 great interviews, and I'm hoping that we can continue to do a couple of quick episodes just like this. But, I had a great time talking to both the men's basketball team and Dr. Youngblood, as well as head coach Shelley Sheiner. We'll see you guys later this week for another episode of the Cougar Culture Podcast.